Do you know why humanity thrives in silence? The words rang out across the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, silencing the murmur of 1,000 alien voices. Ambassador Erickson of Earth stood alone at the center of the assembly, his sharp eyes scanning the sea of alien delegates. Some glared back with disdain. Others chuckled quietly, amused by the humans' perceived arrogance. Erickson's gaze lingered on the towering figure of Supreme Commander Kralvek, a six-limbed tyrant whose empire had just declared war on Earth. Kralvek leaned forward, his mandibles clicking in mock curiosity. "No, human, but I suspect you're about to tell us, just as your kind always do, before they scream." Laughter erupted from the assembly, the sound reverberating through the chamber. Unfazed, Erickson's expression remained cold. "We thrive in silence," he continued, "because history has taught us to prepare while others mock." For a moment, the chamber quieted. Then Kralvek slammed a massive claw on the podium, shattering the tension with a booming laugh. "Prepare? For us? Humanity is an anthill before the inferno. Your fleets will crumble, your cities will burn, and your people will kneel. By the time we are done, Earth will be a memory written in ash." Erickson didn't flinch. "You're making the same mistake as everyone who underestimated us. You assume numbers and technology will guarantee your victory. You assume we're like the others you've conquered." Kralvek's mandibles twitched, his amusement thinning. "This is no debate, human. The Empire's fleets have already begun their march. Your words are as insignificant as the dust of your worlds." Erickson stepped closer, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. "And when your fleets vanish into the silence of space, remember this moment. You were warned. The declaration of war had arrived not with bluster, but with brutality. Within hours of the Council's adjournment, the Galactic Empire's dreadnoughts moved into position, blockading key human colonies and launching precision strikes against Earth's outer defenses. The Empire's broadcasts filled the galactic networks with scenes of triumphant destruction, human frigates disintegrating under plasma barges, planetary defenses overwhelmed by sheer firepower. Commander Kralvek's face was everywhere, boasting about the inevitability of humanity's fall. "We will show these primitives the cost of defiance," he proclaimed to the galaxy, his words dripping with contempt. Back on Earth, the United Nations Space Command scrambled to respond. Generals and admirals crowded into war rooms, analyzing incoming reports with grim faces. Human forces were holding their ground in isolated skirmishes, but lacked the numbers to match the Empire's vast armadas. In one such war room, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Major Alan Vega stood silently, watching a holographic map of the conflict unfold. Dressed in the stark black uniform of the Earth Marine Corps, Vega was a man of few words but commanding presence. His dark eyes scanned the map with laser focus, taking in every detail of the Empire's strategy. Around him, the room buzzed with tension. A junior officer broke the silence. "Sir, the enemy is consolidating forces near the Novacore colony. They've already deployed 2 carrier groups. Our defenses won't hold for more than a few hours." Vega nodded slowly, his voice steady and deliberate. "Then we don't defend. We attack." The officer blinked, stunned. "With respect, sir, our forces are vastly outnumbered." "And we don't need numbers to win," Vega interrupted, his tone sharp but calm. He turned to the assembled officers. "The Galactic Empire sees us as prey. That's their first mistake. Their second mistake is thinking we'll fight them like prey." A ripple of understanding passed through the room. The Earth Marines were not a conventional force. They were humanity's answer to existential threats. A small, elite battalion trained for asymmetric warfare, operating on the principles of adaptability, ingenuity, and ruthless efficiency. On the Novacore colony, the skies were alight with fire as alien drop ships descended in waves, Carrying legions of Kralvek's finest warriors, the once thriving settlement was quickly reduced to rubble, its surviving inhabitants retreating to underground shelters. From the Empire's perspective, the invasion was proceeding flawlessly. Kralvek himself monitored the operation from the bridge of his flagship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons. "This is how war should be," he mused, watching the humans scatter before his armies. Swift, decisive, unquestionable. But on the ground, something unexpected was unfolding. Hidden among the colony's jagged cliffs and dense forests, the Earth Marine Battalion prepared to strike. Major Vega crouched beside a group of his soldiers, his voice low but commanding. "Remember, they think we're running. Let's make sure they keep thinking that, until it's too late." The Marines move like shadows, their gear optimized for stealth and precision. Camouflage drones scouted enemy positions, feeding real-time data to Vega's command tablet. The terrain was their ally, every ridge and crevice a potential advantage. In the distance, an alien platoon advanced cautiously, their movements betraying their lack of familiarity with the environment. Vega signaled silently, and the Marines sprang into action. The first strike was surgical. A railgun fired from a concealed position, its hypersonic projectile punching through the lead alien walker. Before the enemy could react, a second and third strike followed, targeting supply lines and command units. Explosions erupted across the valley, throwing the alien formation into chaos. Back aboard his flagship, Kralvek received the first reports of resistance. He dismissed them with a sneer. A desperate attempt by a cornered animal. Crushed them, but the reports kept coming. Entire squads were vanishing without a trace. Supply convoys were being ambushed, their remains left as grim warnings. Kralvek's sneer faded, replaced by a growing unease. In the war room, Vega watched the unfolding chaos with quiet satisfaction. "They underestimated us," he said almost to himself. "But now they'll learn, one mistake at a time." And as the Empire's forces stumbled deeper into the trap, the silent efficiency of the Marines began to turn the tide. "Their ghosts," hissed an alien officer, her voice trembling as static-laden reports crackled through the comms. "We can't see them, can't track them. They're everywhere and nowhere." Supreme Commander Kralvek slammed a claw against the hollow table, silencing the room. Around him, a dozen officers shrank under the weight of his glare. "They are humans," he growled, his mandibles grinding audibly. "Not ghosts, and they bleed like any other prey. Find them." But even as he issued the command, doubt gnawed at him. His once proud invasion force was unraveling. On the ground, the Earth Marine Battalion continued their relentless campaign, striking with surgical precision and vanishing into the shadows before the Empire's forces could respond. Private Elena Park crouched behind a jagged outcrop, the night vision overlay of her helmet bathing the dark terrain in a ghostly green hue. Beside her, Corporal Malik adjusted a portable railgun, its sleek barrel pointed toward an alien supply convoy winding through the valley below. "On your mark, sir," Park whispered into her comm. From his hidden vantage point high above, Major Vega's calm voice came through. "Wait for the lead vehicle to pass the boulder. Then take it." Seconds stretched into eternity as the convoy moved closer, oblivious to the trap. Finally, Vega's voice cut through the tension. "Now." The railgun fired with a sharp crack, the projectile tearing through the lead vehicle's engine block. The explosion sent debris flying, halting the entire convoy. Before the aliens could react, a second shot detonated their fuel carrier, bathing the valley in a fiery glow. Park and Malik slipped back into the shadows as panic spread through the alien ranks. Above, Vega watched the chaos unfold with cold satisfaction. Disperse. Let them chase shadows. The Empire's forces were crumbling under the pressure of humanity's unconventional warfare. Their traditional strategies, designed for overwhelming frontal assaults, proved useless against an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. Alien platoons wandered aimlessly through the colony's dense forests, their advanced scanners unable to penetrate the Marines' thermal cloaks and jamming fields. Frustration mounted with every fruitless search. One alien commander, a hulking veteran named Tarvek, led his troops into a narrow canyon, hoping to corner the elusive humans. His forces marched cautiously, weapons raised, eyes scanning every shadow. Suddenly, the canyon walls erupted with gunfire. Hidden explosives detonated, sending boulders crashing onto the alien formation. Tarvek roared orders, but it was too late. The ambush was over in seconds. Those who survived found only eerie silence and the chilling message scrawled on the canyon wall. "You should have stayed in space." Back aboard his flagship, Kralvek received the grim reports with mounting fury. His officers scrambled to explain the losses, their excuses growing increasingly desperate. "Commander," one of them stammered, "their tactics are unconventional. They fight without honor, like predators. They target supply lines, ambush our forces, and vanish before we can retaliate." Kralvek's claws dug into the armrests of his chair. "Predators," he hissed. "No, they are vermin, and vermin are eradicated with fire." He issued new orders. Deploy the Empire's most advanced war machines. Towering walkers armed with plasma cannons, supported by squadrons of aerial drones. These weapons had crushed countless rebellions across the galaxy, and Kralvek was confident they would do the same here. The Marines, however, were ready. Major Vega observed the walkers' arrival from a ridge, his face illuminated by the faint glow of his tactical display. Beside him, Lieutenant Ramirez studied the enemy formations with a grim smile. "They brought the big guns," she said. "Good," Vega replied. "Let's take them." The Marines sprang into action, deploying EMP grenades that disabled the walkers' targeting systems. Camouflage drones swarmed the aerial units, jamming their sensors and forcing them to collide midair. Meanwhile, small teams of Marines used grappling hooks to scale the walkers, planting charges on their vulnerable joints. The resulting explosions lit up the night, the sound of collapsing metal echoing through the valley. The Empire's invincible war machines had become smoldering wreckage. As the losses mounted, the psychological toll on the Empire's troops became impossible to ignore. The Marines exploited this with chilling efficiency. In one instance, a squad of alien soldiers discovered a seemingly abandoned human outpost. Cautiously they entered, their weapons ready. Inside, they found rows of emptied barracks and a single flickering screen displaying a simple message. "You are already surrounded." Panic set in as the soldiers scrambled to retreat, only to find their path blocked by Marine snipers. Each shot was precise, disabling rather than killing. By the time the survivors reached their commander, they were trembling wrecks, unable to speak coherently. In a last-ditch effort to regain control, Kralvek ordered an orbital bombardment of the colony's surface. Massive plasma beams rained down, scorching the land and forcing the Marines to retreat deeper into the mountains. For the first time, Kralvek felt a flicker of triumph. "They run," he muttered, watching the destruction unfold on his flagship's view screen. "Now they know fear." But Vega saw the bombardment as an opportunity. From a hidden base deep within the mountains, he convened his officers. "They think we're on the defensive," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Let's use that. Draw them in. Make them commit." The plan was simple but audacious. The Marines would allow the Empire's forces to advance, luring them into a carefully prepared kill zone. There, the true scale of humanity's ingenuity would be unleashed. As the Empire's troops pushed deeper into the colony, They unknowingly walked into the Marines' trap. The terrain grew treacherous, with narrow passes and sudden drops. Every step forward was met with resistance. Sniper fire, mines, and sudden ambushes that whittled down their numbers. Kralvek's frustration boiled over. "Press forward," he roared. "Break them!" But as his forces advanced, the air itself seemed to turn against them. Hidden sonic weapons disoriented the soldiers, while holographic decoys led entire platoons into dead ends. The Empire's vaunted discipline crumbled into chaos. By the time Kralvek realized the extent of the trap, it was too late. His troops were stranded, their supply lines severed, their morale shattered. From his command post, Major Vega issued a final order: begin Phase 2. The Marines struck with overwhelming force, emerging from hidden bunkers and underground tunnels to unleash a coordinated assault. Alien forces that had once marched confidently across the colony now found themselves hunted. As dawn broke, the battlefield was silent save for the crackling of burning wreckage. Vega stood atop a ridge, his expression unreadable as he surveyed the devastation. "They thought we were prey," he said quietly. "Now they know better." The battlefield was unrecognizable. Smoke clung to the valley like a shroud, and the once pristine formations of the Empire's armies lay in scattered ruin. From the high ground, Major Vega observed the remnants of the alien forces through his binoculars. Even the air seemed heavy with defeat, as though the planet itself mourned for the invaders' shattered pride. Behind him, his communications officer, Ramirez, approached. "Sir, Recon confirms their flagship has landed to coordinate the retreat. They've grounded their command structure." Vega lowered his binoculars, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "They're making it easy for us." He turned to his assembled officers, each clad in armor stained with dirt and ash. "This is it. We take the fight to them. Let them know exactly what they provoked." Supreme Commander Kralvek stood within the reinforced command center of his flagship, his clawed hands gripping the edge of the hollow table. Around him, holograms displayed fragmented reports from the surface. His elite guard, the most feared warriors of the Empire, lined the room, silent and still. "Status," he barked. An officer hesitated before responding. "Our forces are scattered. Survivors are regrouping near the extraction point, but their morale is non-existent," Kralvek finished for him, his voice cold. "These humans," he stopped, mandibles clicking in frustration. "No, these predators. How do they do this? They are outnumbered, outgunned, yet we bleed, and they thrive." Before anyone could answer, the alarms blared, cutting through the thick tension. "Perimeter breach," came the frantic cry over the comms. "Hostiles detected." Kralvek's eyes widened. "Impossible. They couldn't have." The command center shook as a series of controlled explosions rippled through the ship's lower decks. The lights flickered and the hologram sputtered, replaced by an ominous silence. Inside the bowels of the flagship, the Marines moved like shadows. Every step was calculated, every shot precise. Private Park led her squad through a labyrinth of corridors, her pulse steady despite the chaos around them. "Clear left," she whispered, her voice calm over the comms. Behind her, Malik secured a hallway, his railgun aimed at the doors. "They're pulling back to the bridge," he reported. "We're herding them like cattle." Park smirked under her helmet. Exactly as planned. Further ahead, Major Vega and his team advanced with surgical precision. Their goal was clear: neutralize Kralvek and his command staff, crippling the Empire's ability to retaliate. Kralvek's composure cracked as the sound of gunfire drew closer. He turned to his guards. "Defend this room. No one gets through." The guards, towering figures clad in ornate battle armor, raised their weapons. Kralvek stared at the main door, waiting, his claws twitching with anticipation. The door didn't open. Instead, a charge detonated, sending a shockwave that knocked several guards off their feet. Smoke poured into the room, obscuring vision. Then the humans came. Vega stepped through the haze, his rifle raised, his squad fanning out behind him. The elite guards charged, their alien weapons humming with energy. But the Marines were faster. Vega's squad moved with ruthless efficiency, exploiting every gap in the enemy's defenses. Plasma bolts flew wildly as the guards fell one by one, overwhelmed by precision strikes and relentless fire. Kralvek watched in horror as his invincible warriors were reduced to nothing more than corpses on the cold floor. With the guards defeated, Vega approached the Supreme Commander. Kralvek, cornered and unarmed, bared his mandibles in a defiant snarl. "You are monsters," he spat. Vega tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable behind his visor. "No," he said evenly. "We're Marines." In one fluid motion, Vega raised his weapon and fired. The sound of the shot echoed in the silence. Hours later, as the sun rose over the scorched battlefield, the last of the Empire's forces surrendered. Their ships, once symbols of terror, powered down and hovered in submission above the human colony. Vega stood atop a ridge, watching as the Marines secured the area. Ramirez approached, her helmet tucked under her arm. "It's over, sir. The colony is secure." Vega nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Not just secure," he said. "Free." In orbit, the shattered remnants of the Empire's fleet began their retreat, carrying tales of their devastating defeat. The message was clear. Humanity would not be conquered. And somewhere in the galaxy, the other empires would hear the story and think twice before daring to challenge Earth again.